Connections Radio presents.
Welcome to PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. Here on Vegas Hockey Hub, we're going to be doing another edition of Vegas Hockey Hub Recap, where we break down every single game for the 2024-2025 season. I am your host, Ian Rakelli, and what a fantastic game for your Vegas Golden Knights, as they would be at T-Mobile Arena, part of Frozen Frenzy with the NHL, and they would take on the LA Kings and win with a very interesting score of 6-1. And there was so many positives in this game, not many negatives. In fact, there's only like one or two on my list. But overall, from start to finish, from puck drop to the sounding horn, this is a very, very good game to talk about here on Vegas Hockey Hub. And just very quickly, go to the website, www.prconnectionsradio.com, the voice of new media. Over a dozen shows on the platform. Go to our social media at Vegas Hockey Hub, or follow me on social media at Ian J. Rakelli, right down there. So for this edition, there was not much that happened in terms of pregame, and that's when it comes to like morning skate, or when we were doing the practice session, filming, recording, getting to talk to people like we normally do. So there wasn't much to really kind of go off of. I mean, William Karlsson back in practice. We're so happy to see William Karlsson back. He is now skating in a regular jersey. He was in a red jersey previously. Now he's in a normal one. Now, there is speculation that he could be playing on Friday against Ottawa. We're not going to go in the deep about it. However, when we do eventually do the week recap for Ottawa on Saturday morning, we are definitely going to see if William Karlsson is in the lineup or if he isn't. Now Victor Olofsson, Bruce Cassidy has confirmed that he will be week to week with the Vegas Golden Knights. So unlikely that he would be playing in this game against LA or against Ottawa later this week. So for Victor Olofsson, he is out week to week. William Karlsson, he is back in practice for the first time in about a month, but we'll have to wait and see if he plays against Ottawa. But besides that, there really wasn't any major differences. I mean, we had a few lineup tweaks, and we'll talk about all of that in just a few minutes. But there was not much in terms of what we thought was going to happen come game time. That was until half an hour before game time. As a half hour before game time with your Golden Knights, they were getting ready. They were going to do warm-ups at T-Mobile Arena. And then the announcement came through the PR, came from multiple sources, that defenseman Shea Theodore is out with an illness. And unfortunately, there is nothing else to go on about that. It was more of a undisclosed situation. They're not going to go too much into detail when it comes to an illness. But with Shea Theodore, him being out of this game against the LA Kings, he was not going to be on the second defensive pairing with Brayden McNabb like he was originally scheduled to. Now I know that I have been harsh on Shea Theodore in the past, but sincerely, I hope that he is well soon. An illness in the NHL, you never want to see anything too super serious in that situation. So for Shea Theodore, I hope he is well soon. But this opened up the door for one of the two defensemen to make his season debut. Now, some people that I was talking to were hoping that it would be Ben Hutton, with him being the veteran, having a more experience. But no, after warm-ups and looking at the rushes, Caden Korczak would make his season debut for the Vegas Golden Knights. So the former second-round pick and a former prospect of the Golden Knights organization, Caden Korczak, making his season debut in 24-25 for your Golden Knights. And for Caden Korczak to be on the now third defensive pairing with Brayden McNabb, it's very familiar if you understand last year. When Shea Theodore got hurt and he missed around 20 games last year, Caden Korczak and Brayden McNabb actually shared time together on that second defensive pairing the year prior. So for Korczak and McNabb to be on the same pairing made a lot of sense. And for Bruce Cassidy, I have to acknowledge how genius it was to have Korzak and McNabb united back together. Very similar to how the defensive pairings, Bruce Cassidy went with what's familiar and brought certain pairings back together from the year prior. And we'll cover that in about 2 or 3 minutes. Now, getting into the roster moves and getting into the forwards and defensive pairings and goalie for this game tonight, here is your starting lineup for your Vegas Golden Knights. Now, forward line 1, Ivan Barbashev, Jack Eichel, and Mark Stone. Arguably, and you can make a strong case for this, the best first line in hockey. Throughout the first 7 games, I have not seen any other line put up the production that Barbashev, Eichel, and Stone have done in the first 7 games. And considering what we're about to talk about and get into in this episode, this first line has been enormously beneficial to your Vegas Golden Knights. Now, forward line 2, there was a swap between Brett Howden and Tanner Pearson. So even though Tanner Pearson scored a goal against Florida and Brett Howden scored a goal against Florida, they decided to put Brett Howden on the second line and team him up with Pavel Dorofeyev and Tomas Hertl in the middle. And for Brett Howden, it makes a lot of sense. Anybody who's been watching any of these Vegas Hockey Hub recap shows, I have been complimenting Brett Howden the first 6 games, talking about how well he has done in the beginning stage of this season. I acknowledge how well Brett Howden has done, so him being on the second line makes so much sense there. Forward line 3, you have the 3 youngsters, Brett Howden, Cole Schwint, and Alexander Holtz. And we're actually going to see this line make some impact later in the game. And then forward line 4, you have Tanner Pearson, Nick Waugh, and King Kolazar. So Kolazar and Pearson back together, and then Nicholas Waugh back to the 4th line, unlike where he was earlier in the year when he was on line 3. Your defensive pairings, Noah Hannafin teamed up with Alex Pietrangelo. This was to be the expected defensive pairing at the beginning of the season during the offseason. Then they switched it up. But for Hannafin and Pietrangelo, your 2 best defensemen, makes so much sense to have them teamed up. Nick Hague and Zach Whitecloud, the pairing that have been connected for the last couple of seasons, they have brought them back as a unit. So Hannafin and Pietrangelo, Hague and Whitecloud, and then the pairing that was announced a half hour before the game kicked off, Braden McNabb and Caden Korzak. And then in net for your Vegas Golden Knights, Ilya Samsonov. And I am so impressed with what Ilya Samsonov has done the first 2 games. I was intrigued to see how he would perform in net for Vegas, doing his first back-to-back on the season for your Vegas Golden Knights. And based off of what we saw at T-Mobile Arena, this is a game that Ilya Samsonov can kind of tip his cap to and acknowledge how well he did. Now, getting into the matchup itself at a 8:30 p.m. Pacific runtime, which, by the way, I'm going to take half a minute and complain about this real quick. Hey, to the person who created the schedule, do you hate Vegas? Like, for the people that have to work the next morning, and yes, I'm recording this as I just got home, and I got to go to bed and wake up in about 4 hours. So, for the people who have to work the next day on a Wednesday, hey, why'd you have Vegas versus LA be at 8:30 p.m. on a Tuesday night? I mean, if you're a kid and you got to go to school, hey, bless your heart. And if you're a parent that has to go to work, oh, man, the amount of coffee you're going to have to consume tomorrow, that's going to be insane for you. I sincerely apologize. But yeah, for the NHL schedule maker, please don't do any more of these 8:30 p.m. start times. All right, it's about midnight, and I'm recording this show, so I don't have to wake up at 5 a.m. and do it like I normally do. Now, getting into the game itself, your Vegas Golden Knights, they would start out with a penalty not even 5 minutes into the game, as Zach Whitecloud would catch Warren Foegele with a high stick, and he would go to the penalty box. But your Vegas Golden Knights would kill off this penalty. And good enough for Vegas for one of the first times it feels like in forever. They were perfect on the power play. The LA Kings went 0 for 3 on the power play. Your Vegas Golden Knights went 3 for 3 on the penalty kill, which was amazing because you had the penalty with Zach Whitecloud to begin the first period. And then later in the game, about halfway into the second period, Alex Pietrangelo went to the box with a holding penalty. They killed that off. And then about 6 minutes left in the second period, Nicholas Hague would get a double minor because he went up and got a high stick on Quinton Byfield, and he would end up bleeding. Byfield would have to go straight to the locker room. He would just go straight to the bench, grab a towel because he was bleeding after catching a high stick from Hague, and that would be a 4-minute minor. And that's actually the one that I'm very impressed with, is how your Vegas Golden Knights not only was on a 5-on-3 for about 5 seconds, but then you also had a 4-minute double minor towards the end of the second period, and yet your Vegas Golden Knights killed that off and managed to keep the game close, and at the time, to be a shutout for the Vegas Golden Knights. So the LA Kings, their power play unit did not step up in this game, but the Vegas Golden Knights penalty kill so definitely did. Now, moving over to the offensive side for the Vegas Golden Knights. Now, I have been critical of Tomas Hertl in the past. Anyone who's watched any of the shows here on Vegas Hockey Hub, you will know that I have been skeptical and I have criticized at times the fact that the Vegas Golden Knights traded for Tomas Hertl. The first 6 games of the year, I kind of wondered what his role was. It seemed like he was kind of just lost at certain times. But in this game against LA, Tomas Hertl definitely knew his place, and he earned his production on this night. As Tomas Hertl on the power play would get his second goal of the season, his first of the game, and would make it a 1-0 for Vegas. This would be assisted by Jack Eichel and Mark Stone. And by the way, that would make it 8 assists on the year for Mark Stone and 9 on the year for Jack Eichel. So on the power play unit, Tomas Hertl has been beneficial. In fact, I think almost all of his goals this season have had to been on the power play. So for a guy like Tomas Hertl, it's still interesting to see what his role will be throughout an entire 82-game season. But in Game 7 against LA, Tomas Hertl provided an insane amount of value to the power play unit as they had that first power play goal of the game, and he would score at that point. Now, we're also going to kind of move on from him and talk about our captain. Oh, captain, my captain, your captain. Mark Stone had that assist in the first goal of the game on the power play, and then the Vegas Golden Knights would get back on the power play about 6 minutes left in the first period, and Tomas Hertl to Noah Hanifin over to Mark Stone, and it would be a power play goal for Mark Stone. Now, I will say when it comes to a tip-in, yes, it is still a tip. You know, you still have to hit it, and Mark Stone did, so he gets his third goal of the season, and you had back-to-back power play goals to start out the game for your Vegas Golden Knights. Tomas Hertl, his third assist of the season, Noah Hanifin with his second. And for Mark Stone, a really impressive performance for your Golden Knights. Not only did he have that assist in the first period on the Hertl power play goal, then he has his own goal after that, but Mark Stone would actually have another assist later on in the game. So a 3-point performance, 1 goal and 2 assists for your captain, Mark Stone, providing so much value to the Golden Knights when it comes to the 24-25 season. And later on in the first period, Caden Korzak would record his first point of the season as he would get an assist on the Pavel Dorofeyev goal with about 5 minutes left in the first period. Now, Tomas Hertl would also be registered for an assist. That would be back-to-back assists for Tomas Hertl. And then Pavel Dorofeyev, his third goal of the season. Now, there was a scrum after this, and it kind of was wondering to see what happened there. It did look like Brant Clark from the LA Kings did help tip this in to the net for the Vegas Golden Knights. But besides that, and the little scrum and back and forth after the goal, Pavel Dorofeyev, third goal of the season. So that second line had 2 goals in the first 3 of the first period, and that top 6 had all 3 goals in the first. Now, with about a minute left in the second period, the LA Kings would get on the board as Warren Foegele would get his first goal of the season for him, assisted by Jordan Spence and Joel Edmondson. And that happened with a little under a minute left in the second period. And that would cause the Vegas Golden Knights to only be up 3-1 as they would head to second intermission at T-Mobile Arena. But in the third period, the Vegas Golden Knights would get back on the board. And about 2 minutes into the third, Alexander Holtz would score his first goal as a Vegas Golden Knight. Now, the way this was set up, the LA Kings were trying to dump and chase. They're trying to get the puck out of their offensive zone. Alex Pietrangelo would catch it as he would move up to the boards. He would get the puck. He would then shoot it straight over to Alexander Holtz, and he would dump it right past David Riddick, and would be his first goal as a Vegas Golden Knight. So kind of a heads-up play by Alex Pietrangelo in that situation. You have to give praise for him there. And the Vegas Golden Knights would continue to add into the goal sheet as Tomas Hertl would get his second goal of the game, and his third on the season would be a 5-1 game halfway into the third period, assisted by Alex Pietrangelo, his second assist of the game, and Pavel Dorofeyev on his first assist of the season. That would be 4 points total on the year for Pavel Dorofeyev. So, after the Tomas Hertl 2 goals, about 6 minutes left in the third period, the first line for the Vegas Golden Knights would connect once again as Mark Stone to Alex Pietrangelo, then over to Ivan Barbashev, who would connect it and get it right past into the Golden Knights, and would have a net for the Ivan Barbashev. It would be his 5th goal of the season, Mark Stone's 3rd assist of the game, and Alex Pietrangelo with his 3rd point of the game. So for a guy like Ivan Barbashev, who had a very slow start last year, he has had a rocket of a start in 24-25. So for Ivan Barbashev, 5th goal of the year, really kind of planting himself as the first line guy in this season. Mark Stone, 9 assists on the year and 3 goals. So, hey, for a captain to have 12 points in the first 7 games, you know, I'm not going to sit here and say that he could have 100 points by the end of the year, but if you continue the path that he is on, I would not be surprised if he gets up to 90 by the end of the year, if he is fully healthy and playing all 82 games and continuing the production he has now. Alex Pietrangelo, with his 6th assist of the season, him getting 3 of them in this game alone, and him having an assist in each of the last 3 goals in that third period. So well done for Alex Pietrangelo. But we cannot forget about Ilya Samsonov having 32 saves on 33 shots. That's a 97.1 save percentage for Ilya Samsonov. And this is a Vegas Golden Knights team that seems like they're more confident when Samsonov is in net. You can tell that Samsonov is making in save after save after save. He's doing his job right now. And in the first 3 games of the season, Ilya Samsonov, you know, he's 2-0-1. But that overtime loss for Florida, he made well over 40 saves for Vegas. So realistically, he actually could be 3-0-0 if those overtime loss became an overtime win. So with the Golden Knights picking up this victory, your player of the game is Ilya Samsonov. Such an impressive outing, and we're such a huge fan of what he did for your Golden Knights. So Ilya Samsonov, player of the game, and your Vegas Golden Knights pick up the victory. 4-0 at home at T-Mobile Arena. Now, the next game against Ottawa, we'll have to do the show on Saturday morning. And I do want to mention this at the end of the show. We are wearing this pink shirt because of Breast Cancer Awareness Month and Hockey Fights Cancer. So with Hockey Fights Cancer and Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we're going to be wearing this pink shirt we did in the last show, this one, and the next one against Ottawa. So this is Vegas Hockey Hub Recap, and I'm your host, Ian Kelly. Go